Welcome to the Post Apocalyptic Media podcast with your host, Shawn. If my voice sounds familiar to you, it's because I am modeled after the star of The Postman. Okay, so I did a little stint on a show called Yellowstone too, but Waterworld and The Postman were my greatest films ever. No, I am not actually Kevin Costner. I am AI. Welcome to the future, bitches.
Hello and welcome back to the Post Apocalyptic Media podcast. I'm your host, Shawn, as Mr. Costner has told you already, and this is episode number 101. Now, you might be thinking, Shawn, how did you get Kevin Costner to give the intro to the show? Well, as he said, as Mr. Costner said, it's actually AI. And this is, now you all probably know by now that I'm absolutely fascinated with AI. And I think that the rate at which it's taking over is kind of scary, right? I mean, I like to approach it as, from that angle. It's kind of like, what is AI doing? Sure, it's painting pretty pictures, but it's pretty scary stuff. So anyway, so there's this thing, and they're not sponsoring us or anything like that, but it's called 11 Labs, and they do this voice synthesizer thing, and it's through AI. Now, it works very much the same way as the art programs work, basically taking existing stuff, breaking it up, making it, a new thing. And we've had voiceovers, basically AI voiceovers for a long time, but this is phenomenal because all I did to get that intro that you just heard was I took a speech that Kevin Costner did, I downloaded on YouTube, and I put it into the 11 Labs speech thing, and it took all of his voice inflections and all of the way, his tone, all that stuff, and it reinterpreted it into the text that I entered. So I literally wrote that script. I uploaded his voice, one speech from YouTube. And it's the one he did, if you've ever seen during Whitney Houston's funeral. That's all. It was and it wasn't even a great quality audio, because he was speaking in front of a bunch of people. So that's why it's a little, the audio isn't that great. I'm sure if I would have found a better, a better speech with better audio, it would have turned out better. But so it literally took the way he pronounces everything and put it together and made that intro based on the script that I wrote in text. And it took, with recording the video, with putting it into 11 Labs, thing, and then generating it, it was like 20 minutes, maybe a half hour total. I present this kind of as someone who's fascinated by AI, but also really kind of scared at where it can go. Maybe worried is a better word. Of course, it's fascinating, and it's kind of a fun little gimmick, but this is a good example of how bad this can get. Kevin Costner didn't say any of this stuff. Anyone can put anything in the words of celebrities or whoever, It's already to the point where we can, and I'm ranting a little bit, but stick with me here. Anyone can put anything in the words, in the mouths of anyone, and in even like deep fakes, which was laughable technology at this point, where you could make it look like someone was in a video by reskinning a face. That's laughable now, and the stuff they have now is crazy scary, and I just don't believe anything I see or hear anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I could take all of my podcasts that I've done in the past and write a script, and it would say it in my voice, and it would sound like me, and it probably wouldn't say as much as I do. That's the key. If you're listening to a podcast and it doesn't say every third word, then it's not me. Okay. But you know what I mean? You could do that, and you could totally make a podcast with my voice, and it wouldn't be me. But I think right now, the one catching point for this is the fact that 11 Labs actually charges for this. I went through a free trial. There's a 1 month free trial you can try out. But they charge per character, not, character as in letters and numbers and stuff like that. So this thing I wrote, I have a free trial where it's like 32,000 characters, I think is what you get in that month. And I used about 1,000, not even 1,000. Yeah, it was about 1,000. So it's not per word, it's per letter. And this actually goes up to like $5 a month if you subscribe to it, and it goes up from there. I mean, it goes up to like $300 a month if you're a professional. I mean, hey, this would be a cool way to make an audiobook if you used one of their voices. 11 Labs has their own voices that you can use that they've created, right? And these are non-copywritten voices. Well, you couldn't, for example, have Kevin Costner narrate you. Well, you could, but you can't legally. You know what I mean? Like Kevin Costner could sue if you made an entire audiobook in his voice. You know what I mean? Or even if you took a popular audiobook voice narrator, and you used his voice or her voice to do your audiobook. Wow. That's some legal ground right there. So this is the Wild West of AI, Wild West of creative, everything. And it's really scary stuff. And like I said, I come to it as I'm fascinated by the advancement in technology. It is absolutely fascinating. But at the same time, we have to be careful, right? We have to be careful with this stuff. This is scary stuff. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. This is like to the point of cell phones 15 years ago, right? iPhones came out and everything you think about cameras and video cameras and all this other stuff you used to have and carry around with you. It's all in a little box now. Streaming services, what they did to Blockbuster and stuff like that, and Family Video, and it's gone, right? So this happens, right? But I think AI is that next one. I think it really, we're scratching the surface, and it's going to get pretty scary. I could do an entire podcast, and I've thought about it, doing an entire podcast on AI and the advancements that are happening every day with this stuff. I mean, there are full videos. They're talking already. Well, I don't even know where to start. There's so many things, but they're talking already about AI creating video games, where they can already write the code. ChatGPT can write code. You can literally say, write me a game that will do this, and it'll write the code, and you can enter that code, and create a game from there. It can make art, and it can make, at this point, 3D graphics. It can make video. It can make all this stuff. Put it all together, and AI is making a game. They can write stories. They can write. You can have a conversation with AI. Just think about the game, though. If you took AI and you put it into something like, Skyrim, and instead of just talking to the NPCs and saying, I took an arrow to the knee, that kind of thing, scripted stuff, they could respond and chat with you. And I don't know, it's kind of amazing to think about, but I think it's right around the corner. Anyway, I spent 8 minutes on that, probably about 7 minutes longer than I wanted to, but I think it's fascinating. I really enjoyed making that little intro there. Because, how cool is it? Kevin Costner said my name, right? All right, so let's go into the news. Let's get away from this AI stuff before I make this an AI podcast, right? So we have the first little bit of news. Of course, I haven't recorded it's been 2 weeks since we did that episode 100, and I will probably stick to maybe every 2 weeks from now for a little while, maybe until school's out in May, but just letting you know. So if you don't see a podcast except every other week, then that's where we're going. So my point with that is that there's a little bit of news, a little bit of back news here. So let's talk about a few of the things that happened. So The Ark is a new sci-fi show. It just came out on February 1st, and it's basically the story of some survivors out on a ship, like a generation ship, I guess, kind of a thing. And the Ark, that's what they call it, why they call it the Ark. Ark 1 is the name of the spacecraft. It's 100 years in the future, 100 years after some kind of catastrophe, some kind of global catastrophe happened. And they destroyed pretty much everyone on Earth, but the people on the Ark are like the last survivors, right? We've seen similar stories before, right? It's kind of a trope at this point, but it's, tropes aren't all that bad. I haven't seen it yet. I'd like to check it out, but it's on Peacock. I don't have Peacock. It's also on Hulu. I just got rid of Hulu. And so you can watch it on any of those. Peacock, of course. Val actually wrote an article kind of describing where you can watch this. And not only that, but like the prices for if you wanted to subscribe to Peacock or Hulu or whatever. It's also on Fubo TV, Sci-Fi. It's a sci-fi show, so that would make sense. It's on Sci-Fi on DirecTV. You can also get Sci-Fi on YouTube, YouTube TV. But again, YouTube TV is kind of a lot of money. It's like $65 a month. That's a little much, right? Just to watch like crafting videos and camping videos, and that's what I watch. I don't know. But anyway, so let's go on with the next little bit of news. So the Fallout TV show is coming, and we know it. We've heard a lot about it. It's actually a thing that's happening. Well, there's a set that is where they're filming this, and a fan, went out to the set and took a bunch of pictures of what they're doing. So we get kind of like behind the scenes look at what they're doing here. It's pretty cool. So one of the iconic buildings that we've seen in the games, I mean, I think ever since Fallout 3 probably, is the Red Rocket Inn, the Red Rocket gas station, Red Rocket truck stop, whatever you want to call it. It's different in every game, I think. But it's the Red Rocket. And they've built one, in real life, and it looks phenomenal. It looks really, really cool. So it's it'll be part of the show. And I think it's, that might be kind of a no-brainer to be like, well, it's one of the most iconic buildings in the last few games, so of course it's going to be in there. But it's cool to see it in there. It's cool to know like where they're taking this story from, which is presumably, from the Fallout 3, Fallout 4, New Vegas, kind of, from those games. So very cool. I'm excited to see that. It's where Amazon's the one doing it. Amazon has not disappointed me in the last few shows they've made, Rings of Power and stuff like that. I'm even a huge fan of New World, their Amazon Prime gaming game. It's like their MMO. Very cool game. I've streamed it a few times if anyone's curious about checking that out. All right. Next little bit of news here is I did an article on the top indie Kickstarter projects for February. I do this every month. It's something that it's something I'm looking at anyway, and to write an article about it is kind of it's like a side thing, because I'm really into Kickstarter. I'm really into backing indie projects. I mean, I don't have a limitless budget, but of course, backing people, throwing, $5, $10 here and there really helps everyone. As you might remember, I've mentioned it before, but I had a Kickstarter myself, and it got, way overfunded, and I was so happy. It was just a really cool thing. So I'm a big believer in Kickstarter. I think that it works out well. So yeah, check out this article. I wrote my top 10 for this month. There's a lot of comic books. There's a lot of tabletop games, actually. There's a horror movie that someone is trying to fund. But yeah, a lot of comic books and tabletop games, most definitely. There's also a video game in there too, graphic novel. So yeah, so check that out if you're looking to fund a new project or maybe get something. I'm getting a lot of Kickstarter board games that I backed like a year and a half ago, or maybe like a year ago. They're all starting to come in now. And it's funny because I'm like, wait, did I back that one? Oh yeah, I forgot I backed that one. So it's like a surprise a year later, right? All right. So let's look at probably the biggest topic again is The Last of Us, right? Episode 4 just released earlier this week on Sunday. I'm not going to give any spoilers, of course, but I'm a really big fan of this show. I've said it before. I've never played the games because I don't own a PlayStation. PlayStation 3, I think, is the last one I have. I don't have a 4 or 5, but I think that a lot of people have told me it's actually kind of a positive experience to be able to see the show and not already know, what's going to happen according to the game. Now, there's that side of it, but also there's the side of it that's like, well, I'm missing out on the Easter eggs. I feel like I was made aware of some of them especially where they're filming scene by scene. That's just like the cinematics in the game. Right. And that's kind of cool. But I didn't get to see that kind of stuff. So what I'm seeing in the show is, first time. And for that reason, for like a standalone TV show, it's just absolutely excellent. And I've heard that gamers who have played the game, it's even better for them because they're seeing they're like, oh, it's the scene where that happened. I almost gave a spoiler, but I'm not going to do that. And so I think that's exciting because if they made them, I guess when they make the Fallout TV show, I'll be doing that. I'll be like, oh, it's the thing and the guy and so I will be that person then. But right now I'm just enjoying The Last of Us as a non-Last of Us game player. But I respect, I respect the fact that it basically is winning all these awards. And when 2 came out, it just almost got a perfect score, I think, in all across the board. A couple outlets did give it a perfect score, which is really cool. But anyway, yeah. So we're up to episode 4, which just released. Joel and Ellie are, making their way across country. That's not a spoiler. That's what they're doing. But what I've noticed, so they like to add in a song every episode. And, that works well for shows. It worked well for Stranger Things when they would do that. And Master of Puppets by Metallica. When people went nuts over that, when it was on Stranger Things, it's funny because I was like, you know what? Yeah, all you people love this song now. But in 1986, when it came out and I was listening, I went to the record store and bought Master of Puppets when I was like 12, like, oh, okay, that was bad then. I was a weirdo for, listening to Metallica back then. But now all these people are like, hey, have you guys heard of this new band Metallica? Yeah. I heard they came out in like 91 with the Black Album. Yeah, with the Enter Sandman song. Yeah. No, they didn't. Stop. So I think The Last of Us is doing something similar. They're bringing out these classic songs. And in this last one, they brought out a Hank Williams song. Hank Williams, you can't deny how... I don't even care if you're like, oh, I hate country music. You're one of those people. But Hank Williams is classic, and he's like the Elvis of country music. You know what I mean? He broke all the rules. He was a heavy partier. Not that makes him cool, but he broke all the rules. He was the guy who kind of did outlaw country before outlaw country was cool. He was an outlaw, and him and Johnny Cash and those guys were just innovators. And so for them to bring out and to bring out Johnny Cash would be a little cliche, I think. Play Ring of Fire and everyone would be like, oh, God, this song again. But you bring out some old Hank Williams, and the song they picked was so just appropriate. It was so it was talking about the end times and stuff like that. Very, very cool song. Very, very cool that they played that. Of course, the one before that was the song by Linda Ronstadt, and I wrote an article about it. Long Time, was that the name of the song? I believe. Yeah, the song was Long Time. She recorded it back in 1970. Great song. I have great memories of that song. Growing up. Of course, I wasn't alive in 1970, but close. 1975, I was. So yeah, I had a good memories of that song, and it's just a great song. For them to put that in there, I really appreciate that when shows can bring out like these classics that aren't like they're classics, but they're not ones that you really think about all the time, like deep cut classics, I guess you could say. very cool that they're doing this in pretty much every episode. Yellowstone does that, of course, not post-apocalyptic, but hey, it has to do with Kevin Costner, right? Yellowstone does that, but they do it for like these new country bluegrass, kind of Appalachian music stars that are popping up now. It's super, super popular. I mean, I guess like 5 years ago, super, super popular for this like Americana music to come back. And so Yellowstone kind of highlighted that, which is super cool, but this is like highlighting classics that are very cool. Anyway, I could talk about music all day long. And I just appreciate what they've done with it there, because they didn't have to, of course, Linda Ronstadt and Hank Williams weren't in the game, their music wasn't in the game, but to bring it into the show, I think was just like icing on the cake. It's just so good. I really appreciate that. Again, not spoiling it, but I really love where they're going with the storyline. It's flowing well. Episode 3 was kind of a time shift thing where it branched off a little bit to show different characters, but it tied in, right? And that's, kind of a lot of shows do that too, where they branch off just a little bit per episode and then, come back for that straight shot, as they're going toward the main plot. Now, episode 5, the show comes out on Sundays, but episode 5 will actually be on Friday of this week. So we're going to get it sooner, 2 days sooner. Now, why are we doing that? Why is it going to be 2 days sooner? Like what in the world could make it, what could change the schedule of probably one of the best shows in the last few years? Well, it's because of the Super Bowl. The Superb Owl, also known as the Superb Owl. Super Bowl LVII. Don't ask me what that is. It's like in the 40s or something. I don't know. The Super Bowl LVII will be kicking off this Sunday at 6:30 Eastern. So that would bump, it would be kind of in the way of The Last of Us. So they decided, well, we can't move the Super Bowl because it's very important. So we are going to move the number one show right now that's currently enjoying a 9.2 on IMDb out of 10, I might add. As you can tell, I don't know if you can tell in my voice, I'm not a football fan. I'm especially not a Super Bowl fan. I haven't been a Super Bowl fan since 1986, when the Bears were in the Super Bowl. That was Super Bowl 20. So if we were to do the math, I don't know. I don't know where we're at now. But the Super Bowl is happening. It bumped Last of Us, and so we get, at least they're not like postponing it until the next week. They're actually giving it to us a couple days early. So I can't complain. I mean, I can complain, and I just did, but I shouldn't complain because it's actually a good thing. But then we'll have to wait longer for episode 6, right? I don't think they're doing like the hiatus thing that all shows are doing these days. What the F is that? Like, why are they doing that? I think they're just going to go straight through and do all 9 episodes. Let's hope. So yeah, I'd like to know what you guys think. What are your opinions on the show so far? Which one is your favorite episode? I don't even know if I could pick a favorite. I think that they're all so great. Like, if you think back at them, you're like, number 1, that was really good because it brought you in, it introduced everything. It was a lot of action. 2 was great. 3 was great. 4, it seems like it's just steady, but also somehow getting better every time. I don't know how they're doing it. But yeah, you can look for that. And we have write-ups. Tina does a write-up of every episode afterward, and that has spoilers. So if you want to get on and, discuss what you thought of the episode, you can do it either on the post itself, or you could even come to our Discord. We'll have a link to the Discord in the notes for today. And we have a whole room. Derek just made a new room, a new, what do you call it, channel in Discord just for The Last of Us. So we go in there and talk about it to your heart's content. I think there are little spoilers in there, but you can also hide. There's a spoiler tag. You can hide stuff in Discord if you don't want people to see, spoilers and ruin things. So yeah, if you want to come in and talk to us and chat about Last of Us or any of these shows, we have rooms for a bunch of the big shows like Walking Dead and Attack on Titan and stuff like that. But you can come in there and talk about anything. And it's not only shows, it's movies, games, all that kind of stuff. And speaking of games, it's an excellent tangent here. And speaking of Discord, we just started playing, a couple of us in the Discord started playing 7 Days to Die. So if you're a fan of that game, if you're a fan of zombie games, survival games, stuff like that, we've been playing that together. And we just started Sunday, I think. So, I guess it was Saturday. Yeah, Saturday night. So we've just been playing a couple days. So it's not too late to join in. If you want to join us, we have our own private server going up, and, you could jump in there and survive the zombie apocalypse with us. Bash in some zombie skulls right alongside of your buddy Shawn, right? And we play kind of odd times, but we're trying to get together where we're having regular times where we play together. And that's something that I really would like to do more often. I think we could get together in co-op games like this, maybe, especially the ones where you get your own server, because then we don't have to worry about trolls and griefers and stuff like that messing us up. And I'm trying to do, I'll probably stream the game a little bit, like us playing. I think that would be cool. And also I want to stream, there's a mod, I'm trying to think of the word mod, I guess, for GTA 5, where it's like a zombie apocalypse. And I want to get in there. It's a private server also. It's not GTA Online or anything like that. It's like a private server through 5M, if you're familiar with that. But it's set up, they modified the entire game to be like a zombie apocalypse survival game. So I want to play that. I want to stream that. So I have some stuff planned to try to get back on Twitch and start streaming more regularly, because I haven't done it in a while. So there's that. Oh yeah. And one other thing also to do with the Discord is we are going to start, we haven't started it yet. We're still talking about our approach to this, but we're going to start a book club, a post-apocalyptic book club. We're trying to decide what book we want to read for the first time. And once we do that, it will be, I don't know how we'll do it. We'll probably, discuss it every few weeks or something like that. Maybe once a week we'll meet and discuss the books. But we don't know which book it is. So if you are interested in joining a post-apocalyptic book club with, once again, your friend Shawn right here, or any of the other cool people in our Discord, you can do that. And we can read together and learn together. It'll be fun. So yeah, check that out. Again, the link to our Discord will be in the notes for this show, and it's in every show. And it's also, if you go to just postapocalyptic.com and you check on the right-hand sidebar, there's a big old link to our Discord there. You can check that out. And you can also check us out on any other social media. We're all over the place. We are everywhere. We're in your house right now. The call is coming from in your house. And on that note, I will let you go. But my name is Shawn. I want to thank you all for listening. And as always, you know what I like to say, stay alive out there and always be ready for the big one. Bye-bye.